Just being able to give your all to your client, especially in Japan, where it is the most demanding and most discriminating in terms of customer service. If you don't bring that customer care, they're just going to drop you like flies, and you really have to be on point.
All right, welcome back. We are at Ignite Sendai Conference 2019, and I'm here with one of our guest speakers. Would you be able to introduce yourself, tell everyone what's your name and what do you do?
Sure. My name is Tia Haygood. I'm from North Carolina, the States, and I'm a full-time professional photographer for my own business.
That's great. So what's your business called?
Yeah, it's called Toptia Photography. It's a little bit of a word play on the Japanese katakana kind of language. Toptia is how you would pronounce top tier in Japanese. So my very first paying customer gave me that idea, and I just stuck with it.
That's so cool, and I know you've had some cool opportunities. So for people who aren't familiar with your work, what are some of the projects and stuff that you've got to work with?
I mean, just fantastic opportunities, like working with Japanese royalty, working with politicians who've come from overseas to summits, conferences based in Tokyo. Oh my goodness, I've learned so much about blockchain this year. It's not even funny. I think I finally understand what blockchain is. Possibly. I've got a lot of requests to cover blockchain summits, Bitcoin kind of conferences where just people from all over Asia and all over the world come, and they just talk about their projects, and it's really, really fascinating.
That's amazing. And so how long have you been in Japan?
So I've been in Japan for about 8 years, but I've been photographing for professionally 3 years and 8 months.
Okay, and so how did you, I know we've been talking about at this conference, you're kind of being pinned as a solopreneur.
I'm a solopreneur.
Solopreneur. And
I need a solo cup.
Yes, not sponsored. And so how did you kind of make the change? So I guess when you came to Japan, you weren't doing photography,
No, right. So
What were you doing?
I was actually studying Japanese history, and then I got into English education, teaching English. For about 3 years, I started to kind of get fatigued with teaching English, and I wanted to do something, whether that be go back to school or go back home. And through just fate, I met a guy who just kind of kicked off my career as a photographer. So yeah, and that's just kind of how it started.
That's great. And so I know there are people who are interested in trying to transition from that, day-to-day kind of English teaching lifestyle, as many foreigners are in terms of an easy vocation for living in Japan. How did you kind of make that transition? Was it an easy process for you, or how did that kind of come about?
And I think that's the thing you have to really plan ahead and really be careful about is some people, they just say, no, I'm out, I'm going to do my business, and maybe they have the capital to back that up or the resources to back that up. But when you're somebody who has realistic or even kind of modest resources, you kind of have to phase yourself out. And so basically what I did was I was teaching full-time, and then I spent 8 months just kind of researching, building a business plan, building a financial plan, and then saying, okay, I'm going to start my business in 2016, but I'm going to supplement that part-time through English teaching. And so it's something that maybe isn't glamorous. It's something that, it's not investments from a venture capitalist, but it's something that's practical for somebody who might be turning their hobby into a business. And just kind of fast forwarding another year and a half, I thought, okay, supplementing my business is a good idea, but we should make the job from which I'm supplementing my business relative to what I'm doing. So I left English teaching part-time to do work with a photography company, a Japanese photography company. And of course, that helps you in many ways in learning the industry, learning more skills, and that really benefited me a lot more than supplementing my income from an industry that I don't wish to be a part of anymore. Basically, like when I decided that I was going to stop doing English and then move on to a Japanese kind of company as a supplement for my business, then it got to the point where my business was becoming viable. And then I had to ask myself, okay, what are the steps required to leave this business, be okay through my visa, be okay financially, and just kind of take care of myself and take care of my business from there. And so when I left the Japanese business, I needed to be on point with my visa. I needed to be on point with my business plan, my marketing, making sure that the people who know me within the network are able to, acknowledge or see that I'm more available than I was previously, because I had to turn clients away, you know, with having that supplemental income. So yeah, now it's greener pastures in the sense of freedom and accessibility. Mm-hmm.
And so just for everyone that's, I know the answer to this, but just for everyone who's watching, so you're now operating as your own photography business full time, right?
Yes.
And how has that been for you?
Oh my God, it's so fantastic. I mean, just being able to sit and have creative think times in the sense of, you know, let's say you're curious about doing this project. Okay, you need some time to just kind of think about how would you attach that project? How would you promote this project? How would you interact with the clients who are in charge of this project? And you just have time to think. And I think oftentimes when I was supplementing my business through other means, you know, you come home, you're tired, you prioritize the bare minimum, you know, and then you go to bed. And you don't give your all to your client. And just being able to give your all to your client, especially in Japan, where, as someone said earlier, it is the most demanding and most discriminating in terms of customer service. If you don't bring that customer care, they're just going to drop you like flies. And you really have to be on point. So being able to work and focus on my business, work and focus on my clients is so rewarding. And that investment comes back in the form of business. So, yeah.
In hearing your story, I think you're an incredible model for a bunch of us
really?
who are wanting to do like what you do. Like you're kind of this thing that we look at and we're like, she did it. Like it is possible. And so on that track, I have kind of two directions I want to take this.
Sure.
But firstly, have there been any challenges or things like that you faced, obviously being in Japan?
Oh, yeah.
And what kind of resources or communities or things have you been able to connect with anyone? And what kind of advice would you give to people who are in your position? Like, where do we go for help, I guess?
Okay, so I'm going to focus on the challenges first, and then I'll segue that into the community because they do go hand in hand. Yeah. I mean, in terms of just like you're new to starting businesses, and you don't understand, you know, you don't understand what the laws are, you don't understand what the etiquette is, and so going to the community, you really need to find someone who is knowledgeable of that, someone who can kind of take you under their wing and say, okay, this is what you need to do. Please don't do that. Just do this. Focus on this. You do kind of need that mentor and that sense of guidance. So I feel like I was really lucky to meet the person who I met that really took his time, took all his free time to give to me and help me in my journey.
I think what you're saying is a really great, valid point.
It's so important because, I mean, you could go to YouTube University and try to research your way out of it, but
yeah.
I mean, you're really going to need, it's a good motivation to network because when you interact with those people might say, oh, you know, I know a guy, or I know a person who needs somebody who's providing, who's looking for someone like you. So that's just a form of networking. Another challenge that you'll definitely have is just the expectation that you're going to get people bulldozing through the door, you know, asking for business, asking for products, asking for services, and it might not happen. You know, when my first day, I remember it very clearly. The first day Toptia opened, it was April 1st, 2016. Nobody was around. Like the space that I was using, everyone was gone to Hanami. And so I just said, you know what, I'm just going to derp around Meguro in Tokyo and just take pictures of sakura. Nobody was there. Like I went out, took pictures to get inspired, and then came back and said, you know what, I'm just going to build my website right now. So, I mean, it's the idea that there's just going to be people flocking in, and you're going to have like a bajuka, you know, bucks, you know, or yen flying through the doors and in the bank account. It's just not going to happen, and you have to come to terms with that. You shouldn't let your failure go to waste. So yeah, I had a really lackluster first day, and so that really forced me to benchmark myself and say, okay, where did I fail? Where can I do better? Or what can I do better? And just constantly asking myself those two questions or those three questions every time a failure occurs, it really helps me grow. And it's very rewarding for someone who hasn't been who hasn't been formally trained. Some people go to a 4-year college for photography. Some people go to culinary school. Some people go to cosmetology. But for the people who fall into these industries and fall into these businesses, you have the disadvantage of not having that certificate or that acknowledgement. And so those failures are so valuable in the sense that you can learn where you messed up and fix it for the next time.
Obviously, we're up in Sendai right now. You live in Tokyo.
I live in Tokyo, yeah.
And so what motivated you? Why did you want to come and speak at this conference?
I mean, it's so funny because Brian and I know a mutual friend, and so when we were talking, it just excited me in the sense that he felt that I had something to really offer to other people. I've always just accepted that I'm a person who just really loves photography, and I want to just offer my services to people who value good photography. I never really saw myself as somebody who is attractive to investors or someone who's come up with this invention that's going to change the world. You know, so I'd always kind of stepped aside from that and said, you know, I will let you guys shine. I will be over here. And the value that Brian saw in my story, I thought, you know what? Okay, he sees his people, he sees his potential guests and potential participants. He feels that I can give these people something practical. And so I came up and I shared my story a little while ago, and sure enough, there were people who are in very similar circumstances where they like a particular thing. It might not change the world, but it'll change their lives and it'll change their mindset, and that's enough for me.
That's amazing. We're so grateful to have you here with us at the conference.
Thank you.
Have you ever been to Sendai before?
Actually, this is my very first time being in Sendai, and from leaving the Shinkansen to coming into this beautiful town, I love it. It's less crazy than Tokyo. It's less full-on, high tension than Tokyo, and it's one of those things where I think a lot of people do have Tokyo fatigue, and they start to kind of look at other places, places like Fukuoka, places like Shizuoka, where it's not as big as Tokyo or Nagoya or Osaka, but it's a nice little happy middle, and yeah, I'm considering.
Come on, I would
considering.
Yeah.
You guys have really, really great cow's tongue, so.
That's very true. And so I guess my question about this to you is, what kind of potential do you see in Sendai? What attracts you to this region?
Well, just the narrative of just bringing in international business, international entrepreneurs into this town, I think is a really, really attractive launch point for me. I'd love to see where Sendai goes in terms of expanding its international mindset, its international community, because that's where my business thrives. In Tokyo, I photograph a lot of international businesses, a lot of internationally minded entities, and that's kind of my customer avatar. So if there is a way that that customer avatar can kind of grow a bit more here, that's fantastic. Even if it doesn't, though, one of the fantastic things about really amazing photographers is that if the client loves you enough, they will fly you to wherever they are. And it's really normal. In the States, you could be an Oregon-based photographer and do multiple commercial jobs in New York or Chicago or Texas. It's a very normal thing. So if I can replicate that industrial standard for my own business here in Japan, there's no reason why I can't live and be based in Sendai, because I can go anywhere.
I think that's really cool, and I know we really appreciate you coming down. I know you have a shoot tomorrow. You're heading back,
yes.
And so we really appreciate your time and coming to spend time and talk with us.
Mm-hmm.
But for anyone who's watching, who might want to get in contact with you and what you do, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, sure. If you're looking to get in touch with me, you can go to my website. It's toptia.com, toptia.com, or you can reach me on Instagram or Facebook at Toptia Photos. I'm always on. I'm always trying to look for people who are looking for photographers. So just send me a direct message or send me an email. Talk to you later.
That's so great, and thank you so much for coming and speaking with us. It's been an amazing experience, and we hope you have a great time at the rest of the conference.
Will do, will do.
Thank you.
Thank you.